In the last 10 years, we've seen a lot of changes in Arbor's infrastructure security report and the results that we see. A few examples I can cite. I mean, in the first year in 2005 when we did this, we had less than 40 respondents to the survey. Last year we had 220. And you know, that's quite obviously quite an improvement over time, and we're getting a much broader base. We're talking to more people, we're getting more diverse opinions, we're able to draw, you know, more precise data out of that larger data set. If I look at some of the metrics that we're seeing, you know, we look at the attacks, right? The largest attack in 2005 was less than 10 gigabits per second, right, for a volumetric packet flood. Now, of course, you know, circuits were smaller, bandwidth availability on the whole was smaller, so it was still very impactful. But then we look in today's attacks and we're seeing attacks as large as 300-400 gigabits per second. You know, that's a very significant increase, right? And in fact, it is growing faster than the aggregate bandwidth. So we really see it, you know, these kinds of escalations are having very real impacts on service provider networks, on enterprise networks, across all internet availability, commerce sites, everyone's impacted, right? The other trend we're seeing is changes in the types of attacks and the methods that the attackers are using. In the early days, DDoS was really a very specific type of threat, volumetric packet floods, right? Fill up the pipe, nobody else can get through. Today, much more sophisticated techniques are employed. We see application layer attacks, we see state exhaustion attacks. These attacks are designed to fly under the radar, to not fill up the pipe and still take the services out. And further, what we see today is a combination of multiple threat vectors, right? So we're seeing volumetric attacks, we're seeing application layer and state exhaustion attacks all combined into a single campaign. And on top of this, we see varying techniques within those, right? So maybe it's a UDP packet flood, maybe it's a TCP state exhaustion, right? And then on top of that, we're now seeing these DDoS attacks combined with other advanced threats, malware, spear phishing campaigns, drive-by downloading, right? So all this stuff is now being combined for a much more complex threat. So DDoS could be just as one component of a long-term advanced threat, you know, campaign. And you know, maybe we'll see DDoS as a smokescreen for the data exfiltration phase. So definitely many changes and a lot to talk about and a lot to see in this year's report.